Rob. Thank you for coming here today. I am Sadeja Alsina. I am the Manager of Strategic Growth at Spar Solutions. I'm glad to have you here. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself for the audience?
Sure. Hey, Sadeja. My name's Rob Hornbuckle. I'm part of the product organization here at Verint that looks after and enables our partners.
One of the things that I do as a partner is that I am looking for market analysis points. So this year attending Verint Engage, I've been very excited to see what has been going on with the Verint Bots. So can you give me a brief introduction into the Verint Bots?
Absolutely. So our bots are really designed around kind of three pillars, right? And it's important when we go to market and talk about these things that we understand what those pillars are. What does Verint mean by a bot, right? So a bot is something that does one thing very well, and it really is focused on just accomplishing that thing. And that thing is very important in that it's a business objective, right? So one of our bots may focus on call wrap up, for example, right? But that's all it does, right? So understanding that and then applying that is what our key design principle is: driving business outcomes. So first principle is really, hey, is the AI real, right? Is it something we can deliver today? It's not this pie in the sky thing that we want to aspire to. No, it's, hey, do we have real AI solutions today? That's kind of the first part. Two, can we drive business objectives around that? Is there an ROI that we can associate with that technology, with implementing that technology? Again, it's about driving business success, right? Driving key business metrics and using the bot as a tool to deliver that, all right? Not really the bot for bot's sake. And then three, how quickly can we deliver it? Can we deliver it fast, right? Because if it's going to take years, it's a very difficult business proposition. And really, our stuff is focused on weeks, not months, not years, right? So it's real AI today that drives your business objectives and can be delivered very quickly.
Thank you, Rob. So I want to just give a hello to our audience, and I actually want to break down where we are in terms of AI and Verint Bots. So Verint Bots, as Rob just mentioned, are something that does one thing very specific. In the world of AI and artificial intelligence, as we've been seeing many tasks being enhanced with AI, being enhanced by these robotic process automation type of tools, what makes Verint Bots stand out so much is their ability to enhance just on those specific functions that they do right now. So for anybody who is not currently in the realm of AI, these are really good tools to get your foot in the door, because they don't do everything. They do one thing really, really well. The suites that we're in particular interest of are the digital first engagement suites and the workforce optimization suites. We've seen Verint come out and patent so many things in the past 15, 20 years in regards to those suites. Can you give me a little brief overview of how these solutions have evolved over time?
Absolutely. So as you know, and as a partner, Verint's been a leader in kind of the WFE space for, I want to say, decades. It's been that long, to get there, you have to constantly stay on the ahead of the trends. You have to deliver the quality and the solutions that people expect. All right, and frankly, ones that surprise them. So things like knowledge management, right? Is a knowledge management platform complete without AI? I'd say today it's not, right? So we have 3 AI bots associated with knowledge management: knowledge suggestion, knowledge creation, knowledge automation, all super important things that help drive people's acceptance of knowledge. Same thing on the WFE side. All right, our bots are very much focused on adding capacity to contact center agents, making them better, not replacing them necessarily, right? But making them better in their day-to-day roles. So the bots are all about, and maybe I'll step back and say one thing. When I say bots, right? When Verint's talking about bots, we're talking about one piece of technology that does something very, very well, right? And it's trained on our language models, and it's trained on literally billions of interactions that we, Verint, have to add context to those. And then we bring that to market, right? So if I have a context summary bot, for example, it's something that will speed at average handle time. I've trained that bot on billions of calls in the contact center. So I know my bot has the appropriate context. And those are the types of things that we view AI and our bots as a complement to our existing solutions and a complement to our partners' ability to deliver.
And I really find it interesting that you brought up average handle time. We've been talking about AI outcomes. Can you mention just some of the metrics that as people begin to deploy Verint bots that they should look out for? Adoption is always a big one, but other things in this product space that our clients should look out for and that we as partners can do to make sure that they are checking for those success factors?
Well, the thing about AI, right, is it for it to be successful, it needs to be complementary. So all the traditional metrics apply, right? If you're looking in the contact center space, average handle time, attrition, if you're talking about self-service, containment, those are all important metrics. They're still important metrics with AI, right? The idea is that AI and the bots just make it more efficient, right? Will help drive agent capacity, right? We've talked to years over the last few years about the agent capacity gap. Demand keeps going up in the contact center space, but costs are consistent, right? So if you don't want your costs to be driven up, you have to augment those agents, who are your most expensive resources, with technology, and the bots are the perfect thing to do that.
And you talk about augmenting agents. We go back to that theme of efficiency, operational efficiency. How, in terms of customer satisfaction and maintaining operational efficiency, what are some of the ways that you believe that Verint bots can help in maintaining that and maximizing that balance?
And this goes back to your previous question, right, about metrics. So the bots are all about efficiency, right? Adding AI to any type of application or process is all about driving efficiency. It's the age old, how do I get more with less, right? How do I drive more value, right? And each of our bots is designed specifically to do that, whether it's by delivering better ROI for your agent minute, for example. We like to talk about the power of small numbers, right? So, for example, if you've got a 2,000 agent contact center, and you can shave 20 seconds off of each average handle time across a year, you're talking about millions of dollars potentially. All right, so you make incremental improvements, incremental efficiency improvements, and if you can deliver those quickly, under budget, on time, that's what our bots are really designed to do, and complement through our partners the ability to drive efficiencies.
Okay, and you talked about incremental improvements. So, of course, the next thing that I'm going to ask about is success stories, people who've already seen incremental improvements.
So, I always like to talk to people about, hey, go to verint.com. We have tons of case studies up there, but particularly for the bots, there are a particular few that really stick with you, right? We have in the insurance space, in the banking space, and the healthcare space, all these verticals, we have some awesome success stories. I won't quote names, but we've got one insurance company save $10 million a year with our IVA, right? Just in driving containment, right? Just in being able to self-serve customers. And that's not replacing agents, that's driving more efficient handling of customer calls. All right. And so you can imagine these are all Fortune 500, these things that we'll talk about now. These are all very large contact centers, right? So the numbers get very big, even with small improvements. Again, it's that power of small numbers driving efficiency. We've got one financial services company implemented our coaching bots, saved $5 million a year by driving a 20-second reduction in overall average handle time. All right, that's just by making their agents better, helping and making them more efficient. Right, really empowering the agents. Right, something like our wrap-up bot. All right, we've got a great insurance case study where they save tens of millions of dollars just in shaving that extra 30 seconds off the end of every call. Now, granted, they had 30,000 agents, right? So again, very, very large scale, but just that type of improvement drives millions of dollars in success. Changing gears a little bit, we've got our CRS bot, which is a fraud bot, anti-fraud bot, saved one bank $1 million a year, and that's because Verint has been in the card payment industry for decades. So we have that ability to train that bot on content that we've captured over the last few decades, right? So we can understand that. That's something that's very unique in the industry.
And you've been talking about improving the employee experiences, making them more efficient. What I'd like to ask about is, from the customer standpoint, when we think of omnichannel engagements, you already kind of led this by mentioning IVA. So when we think of those omnichannel engagements and improving more of the customer satisfaction, what are some ways that the Verint bots help with personalizing those engagements?
So when you talk about omnichannel, I mean, everything's omnichannel today, right? Voice is, it's ubiquitous, right? 10 years ago, that may not have been the case. Voice is still the predominant channel, all right? But every modern contact center today is omnichannel. So you have to pull all those channels together, right? It has to be a seamless experience. So give you an example. One of our bots, it's a smart transfer bot. So what it does is it pulls the context from the self-service platform, whatever that may be, whether it's a voice IVA or a digital IVA, and it'll pass that through to the agent, so that when the agent receives that, if that call doesn't get contained in the self-service platform, the agent gets the full context of the call. So whether they came in through chat and they transferred to voice, or they transferred over to a chat from a voice IVA, the agent gets that screen pop and they get a full generative summary of the previous interaction. All right, so they're not going in blind. They know who the person is. They know what they called for, and they're able to drive that efficiency through lower handle times, better context of understanding. Even things like one of our new bots that's coming online. It's focused on both the customer experience and the agent experience. We call it our CX/EX bot, so customer experience, employee experience. And we marry those two together so that, because our belief is that if you make the employee and the customer happy, it's a win-win and exponentially drives success with your CX effort.
I really like that you mentioned generative AI, because that's what I was going to ask you about next. In terms of the future of generative AI with Verint Bots, of course, I know about the knowledge management bot. I know what that's doing for employees right now in terms of helping to provide context and summaries for the knowledge that's already in the knowledge bases for many companies. But in terms of the future of generative AI and Verint Bots, what do you see being the next big thing, not only for Verint, but maybe for the industry? And it's okay to think about that one for a little bit.
Sure. I have a lot of thoughts on this one, right? The thing about generative AI is that it's only as good as you train it to be, right? And at Verint, we're fortunate. I mentioned it over the course of our discussion to have literally billions and billions of contact center interactions that we can train our bots on. What that does is it puts context out for that generative AI. It adds that context, something that's super important, right? You look at some of the challenges with generative AI. You got hallucinations, giving wrong answers, right? You've got bias that it enters into the picture. Somebody may view something in one way, somebody may view it another. Whose approach gets embodied in that AI. And then context, the overall context brings it all home, right? If I'm asking you a question on the street versus in a contact center environment, context could be very, very different. So because we have all those contact center interactions, we're able to really contextually answer and train our bots in a better way. And back to bias, we have and this is where the human element comes in. Right, we have there's a white paper we've got up online that you could check out. I won't try to read the whole thing to you or anything, but the idea is that you have to have human involvement, right? Because the bot, you can't let it just do whatever it's going to do, right? There has to be a human intelligence there that helps bring things home, that helps people understand, okay, this is one way to look at it. Here's another way to look at it. Here's the way we drive it all together, right? And put it together so that it's a non-biased approach. And this is where something like a wrap-up bot is super important, right? How do you take the context of a full call, exchange between an agent and a customer, and then create a single non-biased view of that, right? Our quality bot does that. It does it in a very cool way, right? Versus traditional ways where an agent sits there and types up the call summary at the end and does a wrap up, right? So it's very, very much streamlined, that approach. You ask what's the future hold, right? So with AI, it's all about efficiency. It's all about continuing to drive efficiencies. How do you make X activity, business activity, more efficient, right? And we've seen a lot of AI projects kind of start and stop and take forever. I think what you'll see is more people will follow the Verint approach, which is create bots, all right, essentially isolated AI instances that will help deliver and could be deployed rapidly. Again, keeping in mind outcomes, right? The outcomes are super important. When you take that outcome and you say, this is what I want to achieve, all right, and then you build technology to do that, it's better than building technology for technology's sake. Like, ooh, here's a cool shiny tool. No, we don't need that. We need something to make our businesses better, stronger, faster, cheaper. That's where the future of AI is.
And that goes along with talking about competitiveness. Everybody's hearing about AI. They're riding the waves. They don't really know what it is exactly. They have an idea. Okay, artificial intelligence, it does things that my agents don't do. But that's what all technology does. So they're trying to ride the wave to stay competitive. We have clients who come in. They want to know about AI. They want to be enabled on it. They start to get really interested in how can they deploy it in their customer service channels. And it really is partly before they can even become competitive. It's all those things that you mentioned. It's learning how to create a contained system to store your knowledge for a large language model that your interactions can be based off of. It's learning how to watch your system for bias and hallucinations so that you can train your model better. And it's understanding that AI can't be used without a human governance system. It's still very human based. So, as our clients are starting to become more competitive with using this, there's also all those things to watch out for.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. The kind of the parallel that I draw is years ago, right? When CRM came on the scene, right? and this is, I'm maybe dating myself a little bit, but everybody wanted to jump on the CRM bandwagon, right? And just because, oh, I have to have that. That's something I saw it and it's very cool. I can do all these things. But what people didn't keep in mind, and the parallel with AI, it's almost identical is what I see, is that they'll go out and they'll implement these technologies, and that day it was CRM, today it's AI, and they'll take a year to implement, right, or more, and half of them fail, right? And it's because they didn't define the business objectives that they needed, that they were implementing the technology to help, right, to drive. So without those objectives, without an anticipated ROI model, any kind of project, technology project, really is doomed to failure. I mean, you might get lucky once or twice, but overall, if you're looking for kind of a best approach or a best practice, you have to define those outcomes. You have to define that ROI. You have to, and this is super important with AI, right? Don't implement AI just to, oh, I'm using this language model, or oh, I've got generative AI doing this, or I've got RAG that's keep limiting my view. Doesn't matter unless you're actually trying to solve a business problem, right? And hit a metric. So I think really encourage anybody that's tackling an AI project, right? Go define those metrics, identify what the technology will help you do, and then go out and drive that project to achieve those goals.
So then you talked about deploying unsuccessfully any type of AI project. What is something that is a best practice for us as partners and for people who are implementing Verint Bots in their internal organizations?
Like I mentioned, right, it's all about outcomes, right? You have to have those outcomes, right? So for a partner, super important to have that understanding with your customer. We are going to implement this technology, but the goal is to drive handle time down. It's to cut handle time by 30%. It's to drive agent attrition down 20%. You have those goals in mind, right? And that's why I love Verint's approach to AI. It's all about, hey, this stuff can be implemented in weeks. We've tested it. We've implemented it. We share it with our partners so that they can take it to market, right, and help customers drive that success. So really, it's all about understanding, hey, this is what I'm implementing this technology to do, right, and this is the results I expect. So don't, if the solution that you're going to market with, and I'm not going to knock on competitors directly, right? But generally speaking, if they can't tell you what an expected ROI is, or if they can't tell you how long it's going to take to implement, or if they say it's going to take years, take a closer look, right? Ask tougher questions, right? Because it shouldn't.
When something says that it's going to take years to implement, could it not be, sometimes people have solutions and objectives that are out there, they want to recreate their entire business model. And they think that AI and the bots that they use are going to help them do so. What would you say for those who are very heady in that aspect?
Business process redesign is fine, right? There's an entire vertical in the industry that of consultants that do nothing but that, and AI can assist in that. But again, that's an effort. If you're trying to redesign your business, if you're trying to transform your business, that can be a long-term objective, right? But the way we've designed our bots is to show immediate results. It's to drive quick efficiencies, quick wins, quick cost savings. And when you're doing that, that allows you to tackle those bigger, if your folks aren't focused on, oh, I've got to type this call summary in and spend an extra half a minute doing that. If instead they can focus on, hey, what if I change this process around? What if I made us more efficient through our own internal processes, right? They can focus on the higher brain activities, right, and do less of the mundane stuff. And that really enables that kind of that next level of business thinking. So to your point, business process redesign is great, right? And if you want to tackle and try to make your business more efficient and improve process along the way, and achieve efficiencies that way, that's great. AI is really just a complement to that. It's not gonna be that thing that changes that for you. You still have to have those goals. You have to have those human objectives in mind to drive your business. And they're very traditional business objectives, by the way, right? So yeah, again, AI is about making things more efficient, better, faster, cheaper, not so much transformative for most people.
So you talked about better, faster, cheaper. What a lot of employees, from the employee standpoint, what makes them so hesitant to adopt not just Verint Bots, but AI in general, is that they are worried about better, faster, cheaper, meaning no human, no human, no human. And then we think about Terminator, right? And we think of all those,
Yeah.
we're going to be raising our children, they're going to be stealing our jobs. So in terms of impact on the workforce, how do you see Verint Bots actually interacting with the actual capacity for workforce?
So our bots are designed to augment the workforce, right? They are better, faster, cheaper in that they try to improve agent performance, right? They try to make an agent better at their role, happier in the role that they're doing. That's what the Verint Bots are designed for. Given our history, right? Our history is one about driving efficiency in seconds through quality management, workforce management, those sorts of things. But also on the front side of that is our self-service components, right? We are one of the largest providers of IVA, IVR today. So we can really understand, hey, there's a self-service piece, and we want to take that and not push those calls to agents, because they can use their brains to do other things. If they're doing password resets all day, right, that's not a very fulfilling role, right? If we can automate that, great. The agent is able to tackle the higher brain functions. So it's not about replacing the agent, it's about really making them more efficient. And that's where our stuff is really fits nicely into that specific role.
When we think about improving the agent and augmenting them, another thing that is of concern is security and privacy. So you can tell your employee, hey, don't say this, non-confidentiality, go have them sign one, have them sign an NDA. But when it comes to AI, it's most of the time, it's just going to go based off of whatever knowledge that it finds in the knowledge base. Or at least that's what the thought is, right? We talked about bias, we talked about hallucinations. How do you see the Verint Bots being something that is in compliance with security and privacy needs of organizations?
Yeah, you have to figure all those components into your design up front, right? It's not something you can apply after the fact. So we have a number of bots that specifically that's all they do, right? So for example, our PII redaction bot will go back and redact information out of transcriptions, after the fact. And you couple that with some of our other solutions, for example, our coaching bot. All right, if an agent is not in compliance on a call, they'll get a screen pop and says, hey, you pay attention to this. You need to do better or fix this, or our call risk scoring bot I mentioned earlier, right? It'll actually analyze calls before they even reach the self-service or an agent and flag them for potential fraud. But the net of all that is that it has to be part of a framework. right? So something like if we're doing a data dip with one of our knowledge tools, for example, and we're going out and we're spidering all this content. If you don't take that and focus it, using a technology like RAG, right? That really focuses the way that the knowledge engine responds, then you're asking for trouble. So that's what our knowledge automation bot, that's something that it applies very strictly. So it'll say, okay, you've got this entire, say for example, it's crawling a customer SharePoint library for content, right? Now, there may be a portion of that SharePoint library you don't want it to return as relative responses, right? So you can use our tech to and just as a configuration to exclude that content, as an example, right? But there are several examples within the Verint bots that really are focused on compliance, PII maintenance, and just general, things like PCI, HIPAA. Those are really at the core of our design, all right? And they have to be, because it's really difficult to add them later.
One of the things that I really appreciate with Verint Bots in terms of working with enterprise clients is the ability to contain that information. Not just, using the PII redaction bot, but the ability within Verint itself to not go and share information with ChatGPT. We're dealing with large amounts of sensitive customer information. Most of the time, it is the corporate information that employees and the bots are relaying once they are using these systems. However, you have those special cases all the time where there might be account information. Maybe there's a special account where every time they call in to a customer service channel, you have to handle them a particular way. This is not information we want going to ChatGPT and released to everybody else out there. So that's something that I really appreciate about the Verint bots. It's that you can contain that information for privacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to that, we have a number of very large customers, multinationals. So you have data residency requirements, you have different programs that you have to ascribe to depending on where you are in the world. So we do have an option that customers can opt out of their data, right? So they can opt their data out from our stuff being to train on it, so that only their content is that they supply trains the bots that they use. That's probably a conversation for a different day, because we could talk for hours about that one. But the options are there, and that flexibility is there to deliver very tailored compliance solutions.
So then we're talking about containing things, right? And keeping information in just one place. But what about integrations? What about, not for the privacy information, but what about integrations in general? What are some of the ways that the Verint bots can integrate? I'm not just asking about within customers' internal environments, maybe some of their homegrown systems. I'm asking about how can Verint bots integrate with other Verint solutions to create an even better product for customers?
The Verint bots are designed to all work together, right? So you have, this is typically where I would throw up the little architecture slide that has it looks like a target, right? But in the core is what we call our engagement data hub. And that hub consolidates data across the entire Verint platform. And the bots feed off of that data. So one bot is say for example, a quality bot, right? May be radically different than, you may think it's radically different than a knowledge automation bot. But they're both able to tap in through the data hub and share data. So you can leverage the bot. We have this concept, we call it a co-pilot bot, right? Co-pilot bot is really a collection of about 5 of our bots, right? That we typically would sell together. The idea here is that, hey, if I can get save 20 seconds on a smart transfer, and then improve agent quality with a quality bot, and then improve agent compliance and answers through a knowledge bot, and then at the end, save time with a wrap-up bot. You put all those together, they're much greater. The sum is much greater than the single quantity. So the solutions like that are ones that really drive value.
How do you see when we talk about integrating with the rest of the things out there on the marketplace, right? Spar, we've created some integrations. We're working on it right now with Verint Engineering to make sure that the bots, specifically the KM bot, is able to deploy into many more places. You mentioned SharePoint, but there's so many other solutions out there that we want to spread into. What do you see as the future of integrating Verint Bots into either channel partner products or into customer systems?
So, one of the great things we love about working with Spar is that you're very interactive, very engaged with our ISV program. All right, and you go up on our marketplace. There's Spar adapters for Salesforce. There's all kinds of great things. One of the things that we've learned from working with organizations like Spar is that there's a real demand for integration points. Right. So this summer at our Engage conference, we announced our iPaaS solution, right? Which is the Verint Integration Studio. What that does is it allows you a very kind of easy click and drag type of integration component, right? So people think of iPaaS, they want to know, okay, what applications are there? So if I need to sync certain applications, I can take a Verint WFM, drag another Workday, for example, drag it over, and then make the connections. Instead of having to spend months and months writing these integrations, they're baked in, right? Now, how does that work into what you can do when you build those integrations? You can then take those data points and you can work the bots against them. So, for example, I've got a wrap-up bot, right? And I put that on the front end. I wrap up the call. I create the generative AI summary, all right? And then what do I do with it? Well, I want to put it in my CRM tool or my HR tool or you pick, right? You can use those integration points and that iPaaS solution to move that out, right? So it's all about defining workflows, right? So while the bots on themselves do one thing very well, you can tie them together and then create something that's much more powerful. And we really look to our partners like Spar to help drive those types of innovations.
Talking about driving innovation, what is something as a Verint partner that we at Spar can look forward to? What is going to be, if you can give us a little sneak peek into what you're excited for in terms of Verint bot development?
Well, I think because the bots are fairly new on the market. And when I say fairly new, I mean a year or two old, right? One of the things that we're constantly striving to do is push the ability for our partners to execute and grow these bots out. So a partner that's as engaged as Spar is going to have a very different advantage than a partner who is maybe just a reseller, right? So there's things that, for example, Spar can do with our IVA in conjunction with our other bots that would really drive different types of value, right? Creating their own solutions based on your own industry expertise. All right. How do you differentiate? And a lot of that is would be up to Spar, right? We want to give you the tools and the flexibility so that somebody with your industry knowledge can drive their own solutions, right? It's all about that. It's about building out that ecosystem, right? Yes, we sold $20 worth of Verint software, but we built an extra $20 of value on top of that, right? And that's something that makes us as a partner organization, talking about SPAR, more valuable than somebody that may just be reselling Verint.
So we are very excited about the future developments that we see taking place for the Verint bots. Verint Engage was very well executed, and just seeing the Genie bot, for example, being deployed was something that we weren't expecting, but piqued our interest as a partner. How can we best position our customers to take advantage of the future developments of the Verint bots?
The most important thing is just stay engaged, right? Understand that, hey, an organization like SPAR is there to help you advance your business objectives, right? And SPAR can bring and share the innovations that the Verint makes to our bots, and these innovations and these bots. Literally, I'm publishing new stuff every week, new content every week on them, right? And SPAR is uniquely positioned to really go out there and get that content and share it with customers. So that's where our partners really shine, right? Is the ability to go out there and touch customers and help them understand, hey, here's how we can use these tools. Yeah, it's not about explaining this language model or that language model. It's about focusing on, hey, these are the business objectives you, Mr. Customer, want to achieve. I know some tools that can really help you do that.
So in terms of metrics, one of the most important things that we hear customers asking about is reporting, right? People want to be able to actually report on the outcomes of these bots and of their employees. Is there anything related to reporting and analytics regarding Verint bots?
We've got this great bot called our Data Insights bot. And what we see this bot accomplishing, really its role, it's a little different from our other bots in that there's not a specific ROI attached to it. It's more about taking a big picture view and then creating visualizations around what your bots are delivering, right? So, for example, I could go into this thing, right? And I can type in a natural language query about a specific metric across a specific time for a specific set of agents. And then it'll return an analysis to me in the form of a dashboard, but also provide a generative AI summary on how that dashboard was created. What are the data points and the metrics that went into creating that, and identify any trends that may be associated with that.
And what can that pull information from?
So it pulls information from our data hub, all right, which is really at the core of all the entire Verint Cloud platform, right? So each of the bots integrates to that data hub. So anything that's collected off our IVA or our quality bot or our coaching bots or our WFM solutions, or you name it, right? Our XM solutions, experience management solutions, all gets consolidated into that single data hub, right? And then this tool, the Data Insights bot, really can create visualizations and some really compelling analysis on that content.
That's very interesting.
And the good thing about this for our friends at SPAR is they can build specific dashboards, really tailor the Data Insights bots to meet the needs of specific customers.
Rob, I want to thank you again for showing up today and allowing our customers and our audience to hear about the power of Verint bots and Verint solutions. Do you have any closing remarks for our audience?
No, it was my pleasure, Deja. Thank you very much. I hope that it was useful for everyone. And as always, we're happy to answer questions in conjunction with our partner SPAR.
If you have any questions about Verint bots, feel free to reach out to SPAR Solutions at sparsolutions.com, or we can maybe link you up with our buddy Rob here, and he can give you all the details in depth. Thank you.